I'm John Kaiser at the Metals Investor Forum in Toronto, March 4th, 2023. I am speaking with Ian Campbell, CEO of Harfang Exploration. Ian, welcome to Toronto.
Thanks very much, John. Pleasure to be here.
Last year, your company, LaSalle, and Harfang Exploration merged and survived as Harfang Exploration. And the focus at the time and the reason for the merger was what is now called the Radisson Serpent project in the James Bay area, where there is a very substantial apron of gold grains, a dispersal train that till sampling had identified. And drilling has intersected high-grade gold, but right now you're focused on another gold project in the James Bay area. What is the status of the Radisson Serpent? Have you figured out what causes this gold dispersal apron, and what needs to be done next to advance this to a proper full-fledged discovery that goes into delineation mode as opposed to simply still trying to find the system?
So just to take a step back, when we first got there, LaSalle had been up at Radisson since 2012 and had done some work up there and had discovered gold where there wasn't gold showings before. And then, you know how the market got in after the crash, and so it was still private. And but Harfang picked up on the fact that we'd found some gold, and then, you know, established the Serpent property and started working the way over to our border and kept finding all these showings. Anyway, a long story short is we got listed in 2020, and Harfang had already established this major gold and till anomaly. Then we started to do some more work after the IPO and found some more gold showings. So one thing led to another. The geological teams, we've got a lot of history on both companies of, you know, successful exploration. So we were cheering for each other in a way. And then, you know, Harfang lost their president and CEO, so we did the merger. And so since the merger, we did a little bit of work. We did a fair amount of drilling and on both sides of the fence before we merged, and then we did some more work this year. So the status really is we're going to take a pause. I've been in exploration a long time, and we just don't want to continue doing the same thing over and over again. We might get the same results, but we did some soil sampling. We've got some good results. I think the till anomaly is largely unexplained, but there are vast areas of the project for exploration as well. So take a pause, put all that data together, still has to be done, is being done right now actually, and rethink everything. There's some things in there from the structural geology perspective that we'd like to really address before we drill. We've actually got some drill targets, but we want to have a good drill program and have, you know, a few questions answered ourselves.
Now you're focused on drilling. In fact, drilling may have already even started on Lac Menarche, which you even expanded the land package last year. What's going on there? Why is this now a priority for Harfang?
Well, it's one of the priorities. It was the listing project of Harfang. That's what they got listed off, and they had purchased it from the Osisko Group. So I remember when when I was with LaSalle and our team, and we looked at some of the rocks up at Menarche, we said, "Holy mackerel, these rocks look really good." You know, so we'd like to see some drilling on there. And I guess you know the results at Serpent for Harfang were always really good in developing this gold and till anomalies. So you only do so much as a small junior, right? You can't do everything. So they focused on Serpent, and so that was another reason for the merger: is you get more money, and then you can explore some of these other properties. But, you know, take a pause on Radisson Serpent, but we have a plan B. And, you know, this Lac Menarche, the rocks look like Timmins to me. We've got all the elements and geological similarities there. It just hasn't been really explored. There's only a little bit of shallow drilling that's been done. And, you know, we went out there in the summer and found some new showings, found some anchorite zones, reminds us of the Dolomite and Timmins, and it's a big alteration system and all the right rock types. So we consolidated that ground, and I think that was one of the deterrents. There was some ground right in the middle of the project that hadn't been acquired until this fall, so that cleared the way for exploration.
Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of companies in the James Bay area who have been focused on exploring for gold, as we're seeing this Lithium Mania 2.0 start to grow, are looking at their existing projects and noticing, well, these pegmatites that we ignored in the past, because who needs more lithium? There was, you know, $200 million market in 2005 and controlled by the lithium brines and the Greenbushes pegmatite in Australia. But now we're talking about needing 600% more lithium supply by 2030. So there's this huge rethinking of what James Bay is is all about. On the existing properties that you have, what sort of lithium pegmatite potential have you observed?
Well, that's an excellent question because, I was relatively new to James Bay. And so with LaSalle, but the more you get to know it, the more you realize there's a center of gravity for the lithium deposits, and there's more being discovered. So, last summer we actually went out on the Serpent ground and said, I wonder if we've got some pegmatite dikes. And sure enough, we spent only a couple of days prospecting, but we found some dikes, and we're not sure of the width, but one of them looks like it's up to 50 meters already. But we got anomalous lithium and tantalum and cesium, nowhere close to ore grade, but the tantalum was 200 ppm. But it does indicate there's some sort of fractionation and potentially the right type of pegmatites there. So it's like most of James Bay, I think it's unexplored. Like, you know just as well as I do that Corvette has been explored for gold and copper and silver, and the pegmatites were largely just ignored. So even on properties that have been explored, you can find, potentially a world-class pegmatite dike. It's really exciting, actually.
Mm-hmm. Now, unlike most geologists out there, you actually have experience with pegmatites, having been the exploration VP for the big Whopper
That's right.
pegmatite at Separation Rapids
Yeah.
that Avalon owns. So you're a bit ahead of the curve, at least higher up on the learning curve than most. And you this year started staking additional land that's like unrelated to what has been the traditional gold focus of Harfang. What's been the sort of method that you using to pick out these targets and stake them? And is there something special about it that left them still available for you to acquire this year, when groups like Brunswick and that have been sort of trying to find everything prospective in the James Bay region?
So I think the first thing is that James Bay is a big region. You can't stake everything. It's like 400 kilometers by 400 kilometers. So that's number one, right? And you can't just go stake everything. So try to get some sort of competitive advantage. We had just hired a guy from the CONSERM. CONSERM is a collaboration between universities, government, and companies. And companies like us participate and put some funds in there. And they try to develop innovative techniques. It's a little bit like AI, I guess, right? And to encourage metal exploration and advance things along. So this guy came over and he did a regression analysis for us, spatial regression analysis of a database. In this case, it was lake sediments. There's a huge database. Quebec is blessed with probably the best database that any province that I've seen. And we did this regression analysis, and it came out, and you do certain things. They're proprietary to us, I guess. Some of the elements that we used, but what it did was enhanced some of these lithium anomalies in and around known deposits, right? And that gave us confidence that the method's working. Like, for example, and it's in our presentation, that Corvette, and you work in percentile residual lithium, it bounced up from 84 up into 99% range. And, that's a high number. That's the kind of thing that we would have actually staked if it was open based on our analysis. So, I mean, a lot of them were staked, but we staked the rest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So these other companies that are staking ground sort of randomly, they don't know what they're doing, but they're sort of staking near Corvette and so on. What sort of geology, for those in the know, is hopeless up in the James Bay area, and what is potentially interesting?
So that's, I've asked our guys that because I know the general models. I actually worked with the guys in Manitoba, University of Manitoba, Tanko, and everything that generated these models. Up in James Bay, there's a lot of unknown geology up there. I'm not going to sit here and rule out anything actually at this point in time. I just based on talking to our own guys that know and other companies that are active in the region, right? To me, it's still wide open turf. And I know what geological models are like. They're good until they're not good, right? The traditional models have worked in the past, but again, James Bay has a lot of areas that are literally unmapped. I think, just a perfect example, Serpent property. That was all a sea of granite, but now we've got amphibolites in there, and we've got sediments and gabbros, mafic intrusions, and all the rest of it, right? I'm not going to comment any further on that.
Mm-hmm. Now, final question here.
Sure.
Andre Gaumond, the original Virginia Gold, was dedicated to James Bay region, found Eleanor, that was bought out for $750 million and was developed into a mine. The Virginia mine spin out, continued the exploration. And in fact, after it was acquired by Osisko Gold Royalties, these two land packages they have in the James Bay region, one of them ended up being Corvette, which is now a $2 billion market valued asset in Patriot Battery. Brunswick optioned the Plex system, and it's fascinating that they have the Orphe gold zone. They actually drilled through pegmatite. They know it's S-type. They don't know yet if it's LCT type, but they never assayed the pegmatite because it was worthless. And there is this humorous story. One of the junior geologists back when he was working for Virginia Mines recalls how Andre said, "Don't you guys dare collect samples from those ridge lines that have no mosquitoes or bush on it. There's nothing there. Those are pegmatites." Now that, James Bay has not really revealed a strong base metal or gold endowment. Now maybe that's because it hasn't had the intensity of exploration that it needs. But the lithium potential, it seems to be a very fertile district. Andre Gaumond, of course, there was no reason to be interested back then. And now that he's seeing all this, has he come around to sort of see, wow, this is like my stomping grounds for the past 3 decades is potentially world-class lithium district. How's his thinking on that?
Oh, Andre's completely on side with everything we're doing. Okay. Oh yeah, no, he's Quebec mining royalty, if not Canadian mining royalty, for everything he's done up there. And so, yeah, he's on side with the lithium play. I mean, the lithium play is new to most people, right? Especially with the price and the way the markets are and the demand. And, we want North American supply, right? Based on everything that we see. Quebec has its own critical and strategic mineral strategy, as does Ontario. There's a lot of government incentives for this, but James Bay, it looks like the great Canadian area play to me. And honestly, even we can't even, comment on a seasoned explorer for lithium because there isn't any. So there really isn't, right? So a lot of us are new to it. I've been in it. I had it for 6 years, but I just see all kinds of wide open potential in James Bay being a North American hotspot for lithium. Mm-hmm. Along with the Quebec government and the support you get there, it's everything's, all the ducks are lining up for sure.
So is it fair to assume that you're not done sleuthing out new potential acquisitions in the James Bay area?
Well, John, we're never done.
Well, eventually everything might end up being staked and then you are done.
Well, that's true, I suppose, yeah.
Because we haven't had the liftoff yet for the Great Canadian Area play. But what I think people don't understand is that this will be the mother of all Great Canadian Area plays, because we're talking about an obscure metal that was $200 million a year market in 2005, becoming $100 to $200 billion market by 2030. And if it isn't, it means the whole EV plans are toast.
Right.
So we have not just realizing there's something valuable here, but we have something whose total size is expanding. So I think it's going to be a very fascinating few years here as the market wakes up. Australians have already figured out it's their money coming in. Once the Canadians figure it out, I think companies like Harfang that know what they're doing in this area and have the sort of the staff, the people that have been familiar with the area, and as they pivot to thinking in pegmatite terms, they're going to do really well.
Well, I totally anticipate that. I mean, we're well positioned. I mean, we know the area extremely well, as you just said, right? And I just want to get even better positioned as best as we can right off the bat. It's a staking rush, right? And so you use every competitive advantage you can get right off the bat. But, it just looks like there's going to be some more discoveries there. Just the distribution of the pegmatites so far. And if you look at the overall geology, it's just, and all the lack of exploration that has been focused on pegmatites, really. It's the great Canadian area play for sure. And, we wanted to be a big part of that.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've been talking with Ian Campbell of Harfang Exploration at the Metals Investor Forum in Toronto. Thank you, Ian.
Thanks very much, John.